Hello everyone, it's Natalie. I just got back. It's been a really busy past few days, so I haven't gotten to vlog much, but I just got back from Portobello Road Market. Actually, scratch that, I took a nap first. I got back and then I took a nap. But I'm finally here in London. It's been about a whole year of preparation at this point, between the applications and interviews and meetings, and it's finally happening. Don't really like flying on the plane, but thankfully it went pretty smoothly. I've never been on an overnight flight before, and the one thing that I was worried about was the plane bathrooms. The idea of it just really grosses me out for some reason, and on all the other plane rides I've been, they've only been a few hours long, so like I have sworn off using plane bathrooms, but I couldn't do that this time because I'd be on a plane for 8 hours. It came into a little bit of trouble at passport control while trying to get in. They found out that we were doing some kind of study abroad program, but not through one of the colleges in the UK. We were probably there for about 30 minutes. A lady that was supposed to be doing our passports brought in like 3 other people and the supervisor, and it was just really crazy. The wife of one of the professors had flown over with us, so we'd have a chaperone, and like they knew we'd all get there safely and together and stuff. And she said later she thought that agents were worried about us like trying to get jobs over here. I couldn't fathom that we could stay at a hotel in central London for 3 whole months. Those were questions that kept popping up. We explained it so many times, like we've been prepping this for a year. We have already like raised the money, saved every penny, paid for everything. It was really stressful, especially because at one point the supervisor like pulled me off to the side to another desk and was questioning me. I think the most stressful part for me was when I first got up there, they hadn't yet put us in a group together yet. And the lady who was doing my passport, who got all the other people, she pretty much ran off with my passport when she was finding all these other people, and I was kind of freaking out on the inside because like, I need my passport. When am I gonna get it back? Am I ever going to get it back? Am I getting into this country? And the whole thing was just really crazy and stressful, but it's all over now. And the past few days have been absolutely nonstop. Yesterday, pretty much the whole day, we did what they called a tube rally. Basically, the professor sent us off on a giant scavenger hunt across London, just to find different landmarks and all this stuff, and just to make sure that we knew how to use the tube system. And that's probably why my legs really hurt today. We walked like 9 miles. Yeah, that took most of the day, and everyone was absolutely exhausted. But we still had a musical to go to. It was called Nice Work If You Can Get It. It was like a rom-com set in the Prohibition era, and it was it was really funny. They were supposed to be in Brooklyn, I think, and the leads actually had pretty good accents. But I will say, one of the side characters, for some reason, was supposed to be from the South, and like most fake Southern accents, it was pretty cringy. We got to talk to some of the actors afterwards, and someone in our group, like was actually saying how like we're visiting from America, we're from the South, and that actor was like asked if his accent was good, and we couldn't bring ourselves to tell him no, because you could tell he enjoyed that role. And then today we went to Portobello Road Market, and I have a little haul from that. Let me get my bag. First, I have this super cozy scarf that I got. I needed to replace the scarf I brought because it is fine for American winters, but it wasn't cutting it in London with all that wind and being out all day it was just way too thin and flimsy. So I got this one. I wore it all day after I got it, and it definitely works. It is very warm. But I will say a downside is it sheds. I'm not sure how well you can see it, but it looks like someone has shorn a sheep over my sweater. Then this other thing, I don't know if I've mentioned this, but I collect antique teacups, and I knew for sure that I wanted to get one while I'm over here, and I found one today. So this is the teacup right here. It's this beautiful like robin's egg blue on the inside. There were 3 different ones that the street vendor had, and I chose this one because I really like the speckled design this one had. And then it comes with a matching saucer, and here is the plate. I'm really excited about that. I don't have any teacups like this one, so I'm really excited that I got to add it to my collection. Then Saturday has been a pretty low-key day after the market. They made sure we had some free time. I went with a friend to get lunch, and then, I took my nap. I'm doing this. I'm going to read after this, and then we have a concert to go to. Mozart's Requiem by Candlelight. That's just a little recap of what I've been up to. It's been a really busy past few days. The next few days will be busy too. So I'm glad I'm getting some downtime in. I'm hoping to read after this and make some more progress on The Book Thief. I'm about a third of the way through right now, and I'm remembering all the reasons why I love this book. It's been pretty busy. Classes officially started today, and we are out all day for that. Have I told y'all about the program yet? I'm not sure. Basically, I'm not studying through a British college here like you do with a lot of study abroad programs. How our program describes itself is if you took my college back in the States and temporarily moved its campus over to London for a semester. And so we have some of our own professors going, and the rest of the classes are taught by British professors. All of our classes are once a week, 3-hour classes. We have a different class each day. Although we got our calendar for the semester today, and the classes aren't consistently scheduled. It's not like every Monday is history, every Tuesday is theater, every Wednesday is art. It's not like that. It's kind of mixed around, so that's definitely going to take some time to adjust to. I'm getting 16 credit hours, most of them going towards my core classes, taking London history and culture, theater, art, New Testament, and faith and business ethics. And then we're also getting a PE credit for walking. Our first class today was London history and culture, and so far it's been really cool. It's taught by a husband and wife duo, and both of them are like certified blue badge London guides, and so it's like really intense training and stuff. They're the real deal. And we got a morning lecture from the husband this morning in that classroom, one of the few times we're actually going to meet in the classroom for London history and culture. And then they usually don't do it like this. They usually just stick to that 1 3-hour period, but he gave us a basic rundown of London history from Roman to modern times, and then in the afternoon, we went on a walk with the wife around what they call the unique square mile, and it's basically following where the original London was, and they call it the unique square mile because it's 1 square mile all around. We got to see a lot of the old churches and architecture. Talked a lot about the guilds and the guild system because those are still around today, and we even got to go to the guild hall, which is like their whole base, and they have their Lord Mayor and everything. It has a piece of the original Roman wall around London, but they have very tight security, and like you can't call ahead or anything and see if they'll be opening the walls to the public that day. You don't know until you get there. They weren't opening it that day, but they do have an art gallery there, so instead we went down and saw where they had the remains of a Roman amphitheater. Saturday night, we went to a concert. I might have mentioned that. It was this concert at St. Martin in the Fields Church in Trafalgar Square for Mozart's birthday. And it was like a candlelight thing. As much as I love classical music and as beautiful as the music was, I was so tired. And the dim lighting wasn't helping. I nearly fell asleep so many times. Hey everyone, so it's Friday night and I realize I haven't exactly vlogged the past few days in terms of like actually talking to y'all. And I think this might be the last day for this week's vlog. There's already a ton of stuff in it. We're doing a day trip to Stonehenge, Avebury, and Bath tomorrow, so I might just put that on my Instagram. But I guess I need to recap. Wednesday, roommates and I went out shopping in Oxford Circus, and we found this really cute cafe called Elan. It's one of the most Instagrammable places in London, and they kind of advertise themselves as that, and they're totally milking it. We're talking like pink and flowers everywhere, trendy drinks, cute cups and mugs, all that. Overpriced, but I'm probably still gonna go back for the pastries because I was cheap and got coffee. Just like a normal coffee. But that was fun, and then that afternoon we went to the Foundling Museum, which was all about the Foundling Hospital, which was like the first kind of like charitable orphanage place for abandoned children, I think in the 17 or 1800s. But basically, abandoned children was a huge, huge problem. A lot of children didn't live past the age of 5, and so it was like this large-scale orphanage welfare place, and lots of other places like it started after. And it was really cool and really insightful, but also really heartbreaking because what mothers could do was like they had to fill out paperwork and everything, and they would leave a token with their child as kind of an identifier or a claim. And if they were able to get a more stable financial or family situation, then they could come back and get their child. And there were hundreds of tokens representative of hundreds of unclaimed children on display. And so that was really rough. And then that night we went on a Jack the Ripper tour with one of our history professors, who is not only like a crime writer, but apparently one of the country's leading experts on Jack the Ripper. He wrote a book and I got it, and I'm kind of excited to read it. I really like history and crime history. I grew up on like CSI and Law and Order because of my parents. So I found it really fascinating, but again, it's another really painful insight into the time period. That was 1888. All the victims were prostitutes, and just the destitution of these women and the things that forced them into poverty and a life of prostitution. It wasn't always a choice they willingly made. There were a lot of broken relationships behind most of these women, and given, the view of women, most of them couldn't support themselves on their own. Even the value or lack of value placed on these women. You could hire a prostitute for a few tuppence, which I'm not sure about how that translates into modern currency, but it was very, very little back then, and it would be very, very little now. That was interesting. It was a night tour, so that also added to the atmosphere. We went to like all the places where the women were found. We talked about like the issues with the police and the politics and why they never caught Jack the Ripper, possible suspects and things like that. And then Thursday was just all classes. We had the two classes with our own professors, not the British ones, so that was New Testament and business. New Testament was interesting, but I suffered through business. It was so boring, and it's 3 hours, and those 5-minute breaks they gave us were not enough. So needless to say, I'm not really looking forward to faith and business ethics. And that's literally all we did yesterday was class, 6 hours of class. So back from a play, it was technically our first theater class, and the play was actually one our theater professor wrote and directed and stuff. Basically, it was this really old Norwegian play that was adapted by Arthur Miller into a play about McCarthyism in the 1950s, and this professor adapted it to be set in modern day Trump's America, like small, supposedly Midwestern town, very Republican. This town is basically dying, and they're trying to revive itself and like its economy and stuff by building a spa resort fed by its springs. But then this local doctor and scientist finds evidence that springs are contaminated, and it would make people really sick to use that water in the spa. And like it all goes downhill from there. I think the whole group agreed that we didn't think they got the politics very right. It seemed very stereotypical and pulled from the media, and I do appreciate the actors' efforts at least, because like the people over here are very not Republican. They are very liberal, and so like it's acting, but it can also be hard to get into the mindset of a person whose beliefs and the core of who they are very different from you. And you could tell they weren't entirely comfortable. There's a lot of physicality to their acting, like making things more physical and bigger and more dramatic it seemed like it was overcompensating for their belief or lack thereof, and could add the confidence to tell the director this, the professor this. Like, we didn't really know what to do because it started the semester, very first class. On a more positive note, some favorite things of this week. I really enjoyed our ROOMIE night out. That was very fun. And the British Museum with the art class. I love history, and it's partly why I'm going I'm getting an additional social studies endorsement for teaching. But I also just really love museums, so I'm definitely going back.
Hello.
Hi, this is Faith, one of my roomies.
Yes.
What was one of your favorite things from this week?
From this week, I loved roomie dinner. We got pasta and ice cream. Oh my gosh, it was so good. I really liked art class. That was good. Yeah. And Mamma Mia.
Yes,
like the end when everyone was like standing up and like clapping along to
and
Dancing
there was
Queen.
like the encore and everything. That was so good.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Mamma Mia, 10 out of 10. Good experience.
Well, I think that ends this week. And it's been really fun. I'm excited for the rest of the semester and getting to share it with y'all. So, bye.